Hello.
Hello.
How, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Hanging in there.
Okay. Well, guess what? It's Thursday.
Yes.
It's Thursday. It's 2:00, and guess what? We got one more day of the week, and then we're on the weekend. Of course, to some of us, it doesn't make a lot of difference, does it?
No.
It's another day. Okay. And I guess you could look at it, a lot of different ways, but it's another day to get something done, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that being said, let's get something done. We're all here, right? And we're gonna jump into looking at some of the work that some of you sent in. And I have to honestly say, there's not a lot to look at. Okay. There's not very much. But then I'm gonna kind of go into looking at two other artists that I wanted to introduce you guys to, and you might find really interesting. But we're gonna kind of go kind of slow today, and we're really gonna kind of talk about some of these pieces as we go through them, and maybe I'll make some suggestions as to what you might do differently. Okay, so let's jump on in here. Let's see. Let's do a little bit of a screen share. Well, okay, that's interesting. The page I need isn't showing up. The other three are. Okay, here, let's stop that for a minute. All right, let's go get what we need, which is you guys. So anything going on in the world that anybody wants to talk about? Anybody got anything to say anything about?
I do, but I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
I did go to the Legacy Museum.
Yes, I know. We've got a photo of you in front of you.
Oh, okay. You got it. Good, good. And I'm going to try to do some drawings, but I've been having problems trying to do the drawings.
Why is that? Is it problem with motivation to pick up a pencil and start making marks on a page, or is it that you don't like?
I don't know how to draw the items, the statues and the things that I saw at the museum. It's just, it takes some skill. So okay. I'm working on it.
Yes. And I guess my response to that would be, yes, it does take skill, and you only get that skill by practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to draw these men that had their arms up like this. Mm-hmm. All of them had their arms raised like this. They were like underwater, in the water. Some of their head was above the water, but their arms were up.
Okay.
And it's 10 of them in a row, but I couldn't get their hands and arms to look natural. So I'm working on it.
Are you showing us a picture of that?
No, she didn't send that in yet.
I didn't send that yet, but I will.
Okay.
Well, when I see you lift your arms up like that, it looked like a triangle that was open with a circle in it.
Oh, you mean kind of like this?
Yeah. When she held her hands up, her shoulders are the bottom of the triangle, mm-hmm. and then the arms are the other walls of the triangle, and then you have a circle, which is your head, or it's not really a circle.
Yeah,
and
but
it's just open. And what I've learned over the last year is that, and because Charles has told us, is that everything is shapes and geometry comes in. So for me, that's what I saw when you said that. Like, let me draw the triangle and then let me add to the body of it, which is the arms this way, right? Because here's the,
Right.
and my shoulders is the bottom of the triangle, and then my head is the circle.
Yeah.
See?
See?
Okay. Okay, that's a good start for me. Thank you.
Yes, there is a simple lesson in abstraction. Ta-da! We've just abstracted that into simple shapes. Okay?
Yay.
And we talked
Yeah.
about that. We talked about that yesterday, actually. Okay? You know, looking for those simple shapes.
Uh-huh.
Good job, Veronica. All right.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna say good job to our instructor because
Well, see,
you
you
know,
you did such a good job. I'm going to let you teach the rest of the class.
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
oh, come on! You're on a roll. You've got some great
Go
photos
for
up
it.
there you can share with everybody.
Hey, Veronica, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, hey, you know, we need to talk a little bit about, you know, how we do this thing called art, you know. And see, we got you going, Veronica. Let's not stop you, right?
You know, it's just getting those proportions, you know, because sometimes I remember when I started and everything was little.
You mean your drawings were little?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why the head was bigger than the legs, you know, that kind of stuff. Like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. But now that's gotten better for you, right?
Yeah, much better.
Right. It's just, you know, it's time and it's looking. And, you know, the biggest thing you can be afraid of is making a mistake. You know, I mean, don't. You know, in fact, welcome those mistakes. You know, when you mess something up, say thank you. You know, because when you mess it up and you actually realize, well, that doesn't look right. See, that's a gift. That's a gift, and it's telling you, okay, you know, I need to work on certain things. And rather than run away from them and go, well, I'm not going to draw figures anymore because I'm not good at it, you need to run toward it. See, you need to draw more figures, see, rather than less. Same thing, you know, if you don't like drawing flowers, you need to draw a lot of flowers until you get over that. You know, I don't like to draw flowers, you know, because it's like once you start doing that, you know, you really begin to look at and sort of digest, you know, what this thing is, you know, and maybe even, you know, the bigger part of it is you begin to figure out like what it is that you're afraid of, you know, and you can, once you kind of realize it, then you can do something about it. See? Then you can change it. And that's,
Yeah, I need to do that with faces. I just gotta do a face daily.
Uh-huh.
You know,
yeah,
just gotta do a face
yeah,
and not be so afraid of faces.
right.
You know.
Yeah. And, you know, let me also throw in there, you know, this doesn't have to take up your whole day. You know, I mean,
I hope not for a face.
no. I mean, you can do like a little, you know, 3 or 5 minute sketch of somebody's face or a flower
Okay.
or whatever it is that you think that you're not good at, right? You know, just, you know, take a few minutes, you know, try to do a little sketching, you know, see how you do, you know, try to figure it out a little bit more, you know, and it's like if you're persistent about it and you keep going back to it, eventually what's going to happen is it's like a light bulb going to come on and it's just going to kind of peel away and you're going to be able to see, you know, what it is that you're struggling with and actually do something about it. That's kind of the way it works. But you got to put in a little time. You know, it doesn't come for free. It doesn't happen instantly. And it, you know, it may take a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you know, maybe even a couple of years in my case, you know, but but eventually you do, you get better at it and you begin to figure it out little by little. So anyway, all right. So now that I've got you guys' work up, let's jump into that. But thank you for that, Veronica. That was great.
Thank you, Veronica.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start off here. We're gonna look at a bear. We
A
start off.
bear.
Yeah,
I know that bear.
we've seen this bear. We are, in fact, as a group, we're sort of intimately, you know, uh, aware of this bear because we've all drawn him before. We've all done, our thing with him. And this is Bob. So this is Bob's version of the bear.
Bob Bear.
That's Bob's bear. Okay.
He's so cute.
Yeah. Now, Bob, this is pastel. Is that correct? You were using.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And so, Bob's got a lot of nice color in there, and there's some really nice stuff going on. Now, Bob changed the composition a bit, and that's okay. You can do that. In the original image, the shoreline was not moving horizontal. It was diagonal, okay? like so. But Bob, made it horizontal. Okay, and that's fine. And let's take a look at a few things. Okay, so if we look at the bottom portion, which is the water, and then we compare it to the top, right? The top is actually much larger, right? It's about 1/3 bottom, 2/3 top. Not quite, but close. And so again, the proportions of those two areas are different. That's a good thing. The size of the bear, okay? Is there anything in there the same size as the bear? And the answer is no, okay? So the bear's more dominant. And the bear is a radically different color than the background or the water, isn't it? Yes, okay. So all of that put together, that draws our eye to the bear, because the bear is the thing that sort of stands out and is different, okay? And that's all good. So all of that's working. And the fact that Bob is doing it not just in value, but also in color, makes it a little bit more of a challenge. Now, I have a question for you, Bob.
Okie doke.
Okay. I'm assuming this is not finished, okay?
Oh, no.
Okay. And so where do you plan on going from here?
Well, the first thing I need to do is to put a light coat of fix-it on there, because I'm moving too much of the existing pastel with my hand on the paper. So that's number one, to put a light coat of that just to hold things down. I'm going to put a little bit more detail in the background. Show a few leaves, just to try to give a hint I've blocked out enough stuff, I think, and I just want to show a little bit of detail to give some life to the background, if you will. The bear's head is not quite finished yet. It's too white on top, and so I gotta tone it back a little bit. That's probably the things that I'm most interested in getting finished.
Okay. All right. So what are you going to do in the background? You said you're going to add a little more detail there.
Yeah, like some leaves, which would be like right next to the water line or close to it. I'm going to leave the back part very, very, very loose, and just hint of a few things back there, just to make you not aware that it's too loose.
Yeah. All right. So I want to make a couple of suggestions to you, okay?
Absolutely.
About that background. Predominantly that background is green, of various values and temperatures. Okay.
Yep.
But overall, when I look at that background, it's very flat right now. And the reason that it's flat is that there's a couple of things going on. One, the green color is overall too intense, you know, everywhere. And then number
Okay.
two, there's not enough contrast in value yet in specific
Okay.
areas. Now, you do have an overall lighter area up here that's lighter and warmer, okay? And this is all sort of darker and cooler down here. And that's
Mhm.
good. You know, that's good. That's a good direction to head in, because what it's telling you is that there's more sunlight up here, that this is beginning to fall into shadow, right? So as your trees fall into shadow, they can get darker, you know, or areas can get darker. And rather than like a lot of little shapes, go back and really look at, you know, the reference or even any kind of reference of trees and things like that growing along a water's edge, and look for big, bold, dark and light shapes, you know, darker and lighter. And then try to find some simplified, big, basic shapes in there that you can push both darker. And in this particular case, what I would say is your shadows, the colors, because they're closer to you, can actually remain more intense, right? So you don't have to shape, you know, really shift the intensity of the color in the shadows. Where your color needs to get more muted is up there at the top where the light is, and you know, it's maybe further back and further away from it. So without changing the value too much, you need to go back in and you need to begin to mute some of that upper area to get it to push back. See,
Okay.
and see, that's going to take that sort of flat color field that you've got now, and it's going to do this. It's going to begin to push parts of it back and bring parts of it forward.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, it's like that bear is in some kind of environment, you know, in a context that we might, you know, expect to see him in. You know, where there's some space and, you know, there's things closer to us and things further away. And that's really going to be the challenge of this piece, is how do you separate those things out? Okay. Now since you're using pastel, there's many different ways that you can go about creating more subdued, less intense colors, and particularly up there in that light area. And, you know, one would be, you know, move in the direction of more neutral colors. Like if you have grays and like really muted purples or violets or anything with, you know, like a muted red in it, say like
Okay.
burnt sienna, something like that. Just, you know, lightly kind of mix some of that in there with those greens, and those greens will dull down very quickly.
Okay. Okay.
Now that doesn't mean you have to blend them. You know, you just have to have a little bit of that color in there next to the green, and it's going to start, you know, creating, a visual contrast and muting those colors down. Okay.
Okay.
So you'd be working like the Impressionists, you know, because that's what they did. You know, they would go to the direct complements and lay those in next to, you know, whatever color they wanted to begin to soften and push back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's my 2 cents worth on that.
Can I add mine? Can I add mine?
Please do.
Okay.
It looks like he's got 2 left feet.
2
The
left.
same. The one standing looks like it's the left foot, and the one on the fish looks like it's the left foot.
Yeah, that one doesn't come forward enough, does it? The front one.
Oh, you mean right here on this front leg?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you could bring some of the texture and light down there just a little bit, you know, which will help pull that forward, and it will change the value from this leg back here in the back as well. as you do that.
I'll lighten that a tad, bring
Yeah.
it forward.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, you
Thank you, John.
yeah,
Just bothers me.
yeah. Well, you kind of treated it a very similar way in the drawing as well, because the value of this and this are all very similar. But here you have some of the water overlapping that back leg there, so it pushes that back, lets that come forward. And you don't really have that in your pastel piece yet. So, but yeah, this is your drawing of the bear. This is your dancing lady. Okay. Now this is your yeah.
I did this outside of class. I did this one separately from class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I thought so because yeah, you've got your other one, your original, which is this one.
Right.
Right. And that's the one you did in class, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. But I like where you've gone with it. You're using, is that like a Canson or a Strathmore paper? It's got that.
It's a beige, light beige paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got like those little fibers in it, right?
No, not really.
Not really?
Well, not that I can. Maybe I don't know. I've not paid attention to it that closely.
Okay.
It may be. Oh yeah, yes, I can see them. Yes, it does. You're
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like a paper that was made by Canson. It's really good.
This was a Strathmore tone tan.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, they both had something like that. Yeah, we used to use that a lot, for doing illustration work and also for printing, like print jobs. I printed on very similar paper to that before. It's good stuff. Very good stuff. But it's really nice to draw on, and it gives you a sort of a mid-tone background to work on. And so, yeah, excellent surface to draw on. And then you've used, looks like the same paper. And now, is this color pencil? Because this doesn't look like pencil.
Yes. I've got some color pencils that to me, they're just too waxy. I'm not thrilled with the result that you get because the wax, you can't get a lot of good detail, sharp, crisp edges, because it just kind of whooshes out in the pencil. So anyway, but I tried it and see.
Yeah. The thing with color pencil is it's one of those mediums you have to be like really, well, you have to be very patient and persistent. Okay. Because the key thing with color pencils, and depending on the brand you use, some are a little drier and kind of more chalky and it's scratchy feeling. Others are a little more waxy, and either one. The worst thing you can do is be in a hurry because you got to be really patient with it, and you can't put a lot of pressure down on the pencil and try to fill in the color very quickly, because if you do, you end up losing the tooth of the paper and it becomes slick, and then you can't get any more color pencil to go down.
Yep.
So you really got to just use like a light hand and just keep going over it very lightly, building the color up until you really fill it in and get like a really nice surface on it. And that's, that's kind of one of those little things that you pick up in using that medium over time. But color pencils, it's a great medium to use. They're safe. They're easy to take anywhere. The only thing is they're not quick. You're not going to do anything fast. If you really want to get, like a nice representation of form and things like that, they actually take quite a long time to build that up. So you've got to be really, really patient with it. So, but like I said, you've got some nice color in her. You're beginning to build up the pencil and really bring up the lights. Are you going to do more to this?
I don't know if I'll do too much more with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. You know, I would say if anything, it's like, you know, let a lot of the white that you have here in like the clothing stay where it's at, but go back in and really kind of bring up the light areas and work back into it and try to get a value contrast of areas where more light, you know, is hitting the surface of the clothes. Because I think you can build it up to the point where you begin to get like highlights, you know, and lit areas on the clothing. And then the gray of the paper and then the white that you've got down there now will become sort of the mid-tones, the shadows, you know, on those whites. So the other thing I might recommend is in the background, it looks like either a dark gray or some kind of neutral color that you used in the background.
Yes, yeah, I've used a couple of different colors of gray in the background.
All right. And, you know, the thing is, think of it more as value and how much contrast do you want there, right? And so I guess where I would go from here is maybe not all the way, you know, not all of the paper, but like in this central area and, you know, kind of close to her, I'd begin to take that gray and I'd build it up and I'd make it darker so that all of the colors on her look lighter.
Okay.
Okay. And by, you know, pushing this background back, and you can do it, you know, you don't have to just use grays. You can use any kind of dark color, dark reds, blues, purples, greens. Use a variety of color and build it up. You know, again, you have to work slowly. And the thing is, with color pencil, you know, one of the things I find is, you know, when I'm trying to lay down a nice even passage with color pencil, I generally kind of work in a circular motion. You know, I don't move horizontally, because if you move horizontally, it begins to kind of break up and get sort of this patchy, sort of uneven look to it. But if you just kind of work in a small area and just kind of work in a circle and build it up, your overall tone will be more even and less kind of patchy with it.
Okay.
Let's see. We have your
Is that, excuse me, is that front leg off balance?
yeah, it's too far
A
forward.
little too far forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It could be back a little tiny bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like her heel ends up, you know, really kind of needs to be about right back there. And then she'd kind of feel a little more balanced in it. Okay. But, and, you know, you kind of did, well, actually, no, in your original drawing, yeah, it kind of falls under the head a little bit better. So you actually made out better, you know, anatomically on your original drawing.
Yeah. I made her too long-waisted in the original drawing. Her waist is way too long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it comes down to this the thing of the proportion from here, you know, the bottom of the hip or the leg to the top of the hand, you know, versus the width. And she could be, you know, a little bit wider, and then she'd be more proportional to where she was. So, but a lot of people did that, you know, made her more vertical than horizontal. That was a real common, you know, thing we all did.
This was what made this really difficult was the layers of the costume. And usually, if you see clothing, you can sort of understand the shape of the body, but with those stiff layers of costume, to me it was very difficult. figure out the body proportion.
Yeah, she had a lot of stuff going on, and
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I wasn't gonna make it easy.
You didn't.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a bit of a challenge. Okay, now with your lady here, in San Miguel Allende, you kind of solved one problem by not doing the other side of the street. So when we look at the scale of her, to the doorways and things, she feels fairly proportional. And then the church sits in the back, and so that was a, pretty good solution for making it more simple. Now the walkway, it could diminish more. It could get narrower back here. It's still a little bit wide back there as it moves back in the background, and that would have pushed the distance back a little bit further for you. But overall, I think you got the intent of the drawing. Again, using that medium, be very careful about how you lay those tones in, because you kind of tend to do, the diagonal thing, and that's okay for a quick sketch and all, but again, you end up getting these sort of uneven patches of color with color pencil. The nice thing with charcoal or with graphite is you can take your finger, and even if it gets kind of directional and streaky like that, you can take a cloth or your finger or a paper towel and just soften them back. And that takes a lot of that away. Unfortunately, color pencil can't do that. So it doesn't work that way. Alrighty, John. You got your barn right there.
Okay, I sent you one after this.
You did?
Yeah. Last evening, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because we talked about doing things in this one, which I did for discussion. So this is not final.
Okay. I thought this one was the one I got though. All right. Well, here, let's skip this one for a minute. Okay, I'll go look for that. Jackie. Here's Jackie's drawing. We looked at this Tuesday, I think. Okay. And one of the questions I had for Jackie was, okay, so who is this guy? And so she kind of explained to the group, who he is. And then, so there's her drawing. And then this is the actual reference that she was working from. Okay. And so, she's got him placed in front of all these bookshelves, and he's a historian. So those books are relevant to what he does, and the things that he talks about. And so, that's a pretty good rendition of him. You got the idea, of him. Now, you kind of left out the gesture of the hand, stuff like that. Is there a reason that you did that?
Let me see the other one, his hand.
Yeah, see his arm is raised.
Yeah.
He's doing something with his hand. And
Yeah.
You don't get all of it. And it's really okay that you left it out because you don't really quite understand, what it's doing. But I was just asking you why you did that.
Probably looking at another picture because I had a few pictures. So
Did you?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
and then I need to do the circle like you were just telling. Bob, was that somebody else to do to color and circles on his face? I went straight up and down.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, with colored pencil, yeah. I mean, you were having, a lot of the same sort of issues.
Yeah.
As you build up the color, it gets kind of streaky, if you keep moving in the same direction. So it's kind of like using, graphite or any other drawing material. if you change the angle slightly, you make a passage one direction and then you change it, you'll avoid a lot of that kind of streaky feel in it. But what I've found in using that as a medium is that just moving in small circles, you don't build up like these really textural surfaces like this where things look kind of scratchy. But you'll build up some softer, kind of nice, even tones and transitions that way.
I'll work on that.
Yeah.
I think the artistic license she took was good because it made it look more like a painting by her, emphasizing the different books in the background. His just looks like real life, I guess. Hers looks more artistic in the back because she highlighted names and she did different colors.
Yeah.
And it made it look more like a piece of art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah. And there's, there's, certainly nothing wrong with what she's done there. And in fact, she's made it more of kind of a narrative image because she did emphasize the books, in many ways more than she did him. Now,
I think it made a lot more interesting picture than the photograph.
Yeah,
she did too.
Yeah,
right.
Now, my recommendation to her is, she can keep all of that back there and just soften it just a little bit so that he pushes forward still, and that these kind of sit back in the background a little bit.
I'm working on that softening because you told me to glaze in front of the lady's face. Just use white, real light, and it didn't work for me. So I'm working on that.
Okay, the lady's face.
Yeah. It was a picture of a lady, and you told me to do the background, his background, the same way I have to do the lady.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work for me.
Okay, but now were you using colored pencil?
No. Oh, on this case, I'm using pencil. The other one was acrylic.
Yeah, okay. And what, when I said that you use that acrylic as a glaze, did I tell you to put it in like some kind of medium, like gel medium or something like that?
I think you just told me any color you can mix a little white with it, real light, to make it really lighter.
Yeah, you can. And it will make it, if you make it like really thin, if you thin it down with like a medium, then you're making like a glaze, and it will help fade things back a little bit. So yeah, I'm trying to remember the context we were talking about. So
yeah,
but
a lady with all the colors, the color face.
Okay, well, in this particular case, all right, I would say use colored pencil, like a white colored pencil. And again, just, you don't want to like take them away. All you want to do is just lightly work over them to soften them a little bit so that these are a little bit softer and that the color remains just a little bit brighter and a little bit sharper on him. So he comes forward in the books. You haven't taken away anything that, like any of the titles or anything like that. All you've done is you've just taken the edge off of them a little bit, soften them back a little bit. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna work on it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then here you are. You were talking about going to the Legacy Museum, and so there's Jackie. Now this is at Tuskegee University, right?
No, that's in Montgomery, downtown Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
It's not far, 40 miles from Tuskegee University.
Okay. Yeah. Didn't you went to Tuskegee, didn't you? And you went.
Yeah, I went to Tuskegee a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. But this one I did this past weekend, last weekend, and I went in one day and came back the same day. I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, you shot down 85, you know.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, you passed my house. You could have waved right there when you
really?
right there when you went across the bridge from Georgia into Alabama, right?
Oh, yeah.
The very first exit is Lynette and Valley, right? The very second
Is-
Lynette, L-A,
Yes, I saw that.
and Valley, V-A-L-L-E-Y, right? That's where my house is.
Uh-huh.
So it would be that.
Oh.
So.
Oh, I'm gonna go next time. I'll pull in there and look at your house.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you'd have to head down the road about 4.5 miles, you know, when you pull off and go in the direction of Valley, which is south. Lynette is to the north. Yeah,
Have some
Lynette.
lunch ready.
Yeah, Lynette and West Point, Georgia, are north of there.
Oh,
No. They both sit on that side of the
a lot of land out there. That's what I was looking at. I was riding around looking at land.
Yeah.
I just do that by habit.
Yeah, it's actually really pretty out there.
Yeah.
You know, that whole River Valley area in there. It's really
Wow.
nice landscape. And if you go further north of West Point, you have West Point Lake out there, and which is a huge lake. They've got a big dam there, that generates a lot of electric power. But
Yes.
it's right there on the Chattahoochee Bay. It makes an enormous lake. I think the lake is 40 miles long.
Yes.
That river channel.
Oh, I want to take that trip then.
Yeah, it's pretty up there. I've been up there quite a bit. So at any rate, the back at the drawing, really the only thing here is, if you soften the background, he'll come forward a little bit. Okay.
Got you.
And then Jean. Earth calling Jean.
Gene has got it says that my thing is unstable, so I'm getting this on and off,
Okay. All right.
but I'm here.
Duly noted. So let me ask you, okay? You sent me 3 different
My
emails.
phone is going crazy. I don't know when it's sending something and when it's not sending something. So I evidently got sent you 3 pictures of the same thing.
You did. Okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. I was just checking with you.
One is good. That's the only one I did. It's just one piece, but it started doing nutsy things.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, now this
Take
is,
the one you like the best and delete the others.
yeah. No, it's fine. So now this is acrylic. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you got some nice things going on in there.
Beautiful.
Yeah. The colors in the hills back here. Look how she made up. Let's see if we can get it even larger. See, if you begin to look at little areas like that, it really becomes a very impressionistic painting, right? Because you got, a little bit of orange.
I don't know where you're, oh, I see it now.
Yeah, and green. And I'm not looking at the tree that's in front. I'm just looking at the colors that are back here in the background.
Very nice.
Yeah, just like a fall scene. Very pretty. Yeah, I thought that was a picture that you were sending. So that's really her painting. Boy,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a
So-
pretty picture.
Yeah, so
I'm telling you, I didn't know it was her painting. Mhm.
So you've got some nice paint surfaces back there, and you got a lot of nice color going on. Color within that overall color, right? And so, so the shift in the actual color and the temperature make that hillside and that mountain back there not so flat. See, the trees down here at the bottom turning more green, generally being warmer in temperature, you know, and in some cases lighter in value, in some cases darker. You know, bring that bottom part, you know, of this area forward, and then the top, let me zoom back out again, you know, the top moves back a little bit for you. So it actually kind of takes on some form and distance in there, and, you know, works pretty well. And then, of course, you reinforce that idea with
Really
this.
Bad connection.
Okay. As I said, you reinforce that idea with this tree, you know, the big limb coming in front and the foliage. And the fact that as you laid down the color, you have what we call a broken paint passage. So you actually see some of the purple showing through underneath in areas. And it gives you that illusion, you know, like when you're looking at a tree, you see what's behind the leaves oftentimes, right? When you're close to them. And so, again, you know, that really helped, again, set up some distance and some depth in here for you. But yeah, it's a really nice piece. It really is. And, you know, the composition of it, you know, you've got things, you know, definitely here closer to us in the foreground. You got a good strong middle ground, and you got a good strong background. So.
Is it plein air? It looks like it may be plein air.
I don't think so. You don't do plein air, do you, Jean? Jean may have gone away. She was having some problems.
I love it.
Jean, where are you?
Is the boat kind of slanted upward like it's going up a hill?
Well, it's moving backward, but yeah, the angle is maybe a little too much, you know, and it doesn't quite feel grounded to the water, does it? You know, it does kind of feel like she's moving. You know, he's moving uphill a little bit. You know, and that's kind of a perspective issue. You know, getting that angle right, but also, you know, making that boat a little bit smaller in the to the right, and then the back a little bit larger would have kind of made it feel more dimensional. But again, that's kind of a, you know, it's a little thing, but it's, yeah, it does make a difference. So, let's see. But I don't know how big this is. You know, I'm guessing it's not real large because she doesn't work real large. So, you know, this might be like an 11 by 14 or, you know, 11 by 17 size. So this guy is probably not more than, you know, 3/4 of an inch. You know, and it's difficult, you know, it's difficult to get scale and proportion at that size. So anyhow, I don't think she's here anymore. Okay. Is Rebecca here? Rebecca Pickney? Rebecca keeps sending stuff in. She's been gone for a while. Okay. How about Wanda? Is Wanda here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, we talked about these a little bit the other day. Okay. And I put them in the mix again because I wanted to talk to you about them more. Okay. And you said that this was on canvas. Is that correct? Wanda?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So one of those hard canvases is hard, you know.
Oh, it's a panel. It's a panel.
Yeah, it's a panel. It's not a soft canvas.
Okay. And this is with your pins, right? This is with the marker?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how big is this? You know, is it?
Oh, I think it's maybe a 9 by 10.
Like 9 by 12?
Yeah, 9 by 12, yeah.
Yeah, that's
not very big.
Standard size. Okay. All right. So here's one thing. You work in acrylics as well, right?
Yeah, I do sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, yeah. Now, I wouldn't change this, okay? I mean, leave that alone, right? But then I would kind of, encourage you to maybe try with either acrylic paint or watercolor or some other medium, try to do, that same basic composition, but try to crop it maybe a little bit differently, where maybe she doesn't fill up the whole canvas. Maybe she only fills up like, 2/3 of it, so that, scale wise, you get a little more background. And try it in a different medium and see if you can achieve similar colors, if you can get the intensity and the brightness.
Okay.
And the reason I would say, do that is that as you, it would be a really good project that you could learn a lot about mixing color and about the subtleties of being able to mix, like this pink, for example. It's a magenta, and it's a really pretty intense color, right?
Yes.
But if you use, say, a different medium, let's say if you used acrylic, right? You could mix up a lighter, use this as a mid-tone and a darker value of this, and then as you moved around that, you could start from right at the top, into the mid-tone and into the shadows underneath, and it would make it feel more dimensional and round.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that might be difficult to do with the pen. It might be.
Hey. I'm sorry, my grandkids are in the room next to me.
Yeah, you got some things going on back. But again, just being able to have, some subtle changes in there, okay, to make that feel more round. Even in the figure itself, even though you're treating her more or less as a silhouette, you could do the same thing with the black, right? Have a black with, say, more red in it, right? Warmer. A black, that's more kind of straight, out of the tube black. And then, either put some violet or some blue, in that same mixture, and so you, again, change temperature, not necessarily value. And again, it would give you an ability to make this, rather than just a flat silhouetted shape, it would at first read as that silhouette, but then those forms would begin to emerge, out of it, and she would have some weight and some dimension to her as well.
Yeah, something that you should mention that, because when I opened up the watercolor pen to do this, once I put it on the canvas, it turned out to be this dark blue and not black, which sort of, I didn't want it to be that, but it came out nicer, the motion of it with the blue and the dark blue, because it's more of a navy than it was a black.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it was like that when the pen marked black on there.
Yeah. Well, the, in any kind of commercial black that you buy in a tube, for the most part, is going to have a lot of blue in it. And it's just how they make black. They add a lot of this really, really dark blue to it to begin to try to create black. The only exceptions to that, in pigment, is if you use something that they call either ivory black or bone black. And those tend to be, I would say warmer in temperature than like a Mars black. Mars black is pretty much so. If you take white and you mix a little bit of white into your Mars black, you're going to end up with a kind of a blue-gray. And you can actually see the blue.
Okay.
If you take bone black or ivory black and you add white to it, it will look gray, but it won't look bluish gray. And again, it's
Oh, I see. Okay.
it's just it's how they actually made that black. You know, but Mars Black is one of those ones that most people buy, and it just has an awful lot of blue in it. And you know, they do the same thing, not just for like paint pigments, but also for like markers, pens, things like that. If you take a marker, let's say that you take a Sharpie, and then you take like 3 or 4 other brands of black pens, and you use them on a piece of paper next to each other, and just kind of fill in like a shape, you can see the differences in the color, you know, and some will be bluer and some will be more red. Like a Sharpie generally tends to have more kind of red or purple in it, where, you know, a lot of the other brands have a lot of blue in them. And you can actually see the difference, you know, when they're sitting next to each other, you know, pretty easily. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But, you know, I would encourage you, you know, take this and try to do, you know, like this piece and this piece, you know, that you did with the markers. I mean, they're both really, really lovely pieces. And, you know, now, you know, I would kind of encourage you, take them and try to do them in a more permanent medium, something that's going to last longer. Because the problem with markers, you know, they're good for, you know, for doing studies and, you know, basically playing with ideas and things. But the problem is that eventually, you know, these markers begin to fade and all the pigment, you know, begins to, you know, get muted and kind of fade back. So that's why I'd say use an acrylic paint, use a watercolor, something like that. That'll be more archival, you know, long term, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think, again, you know, just using that medium, you know, you can build in some subtleties in your color that you can't get with a pen. So.
Can't you use a fixative or some type of coating on the outside to make this, I mean, on top of it to make it more permanent so that it will be more archival?
Yeah, you can get a fixative spray that's UV protectant, and that will help preserve it a little bit longer. But the problem isn't just the light. The problem is the actual medium itself, and eventually it's going to break down. You know, markers, you know, pretty much so. Even though they call them permanent, not so much. You know, even a Sharpie over time will fade. You know, and those are about permanent.
Are we talking in 50 years or something?
Oh yeah, you know, we're talking. Yeah. You won't be around. You know, when these finally all fade away. You know, it'll probably take, you know, 50 or 60 years. But in 50 or 60 years, yeah, there won't be a lot left, you know, color-wise there, because the pigments will just break down over time. You know, and if you, let's say that you wanted to frame these and hang them in your house, they'll fade even more quickly because of the light, you know, is going to affect them. So just
Even with them behind glass?
Yeah, regardless, you know, even if you put like a UV protecting glass over them, you know, it's still going to fade them over time. You know, they're not, you know, they're really not a permanent medium is the issue. Okay.
How do they preserve those ancient wall paintings that were done inside caves and all? Those are water soluble things, aren't they?
Well, yeah, they were done with, you know, ochres and, you know, earthen materials that don't tend to fade. You know,
these are known to fade, right? The ones we're using now.
Yeah, these are.
So we don't have any hope. There's no hope that it'll last like the Mona Lisa or anything, 500 years. so our descendants will be able to discuss them.
Right.
Marker? No. If you're doing things in markers, no. Now, if you're doing things in oil paint and acrylics, oh yeah. Yeah, those will hang around for quite a while. And if you work on a pretty good, stable surface, you know, they'll last a very good long time. And it's like anything else. If something becomes valuable and they want to preserve it, they'll find a way to do it. You know, they really will. You know, some things are more challenging than others. Like, for example, I have a friend, you know, she's an art conservator, okay, and she specializes in paper, you know. And one of the things that, you know, she wanted to do was she wanted to restore and make archival a lot of the old 1960s record albums, like by the Beatles and folks like that. Well, the issue that you have there is that, you know, you've got A, it's on paper that's not great quality. And then B, you're using inks, you know, printer's inks that, you know, are fairly archival, but not really permanent. And eventually, you know, all that stuff is going to fall apart. So, you know, I mean, it's a struggle, you know, to try to preserve something like that, old posters, you know, things like that. You know, paint pigments tend to, well, artist paint pigments, artist quality paint pigments tend to last, you know, fairly long. And they, well, we know oil paint, watercolor, gouache, you know, all of those mediums have been around for hundreds of years, and some of them thousands of years. And we know that they're, you know, yeah, you know, they are as stable as the substrate that you paint them on. Okay. And like watercolors, for example, you know, we've got watercolors that go back about 3,000 years. You know, if you go back to look at some of the things from India, China, Egypt, you know, areas like that. You know, we've actually got watercolors that were done on papyrus, and the papyrus is archival enough that it lasted this amount of time, and because of that, the paint lasted. You know, if you do it on a piece of paper that's going to fall apart in a couple hundred years, there's not anything you can do to preserve the paint. So, you know, a lot of stuff.
I guess the best thing to do is just take a picture of it, and you'll have that forever.
Well, yeah, we would like to think that, you know, even though if you have stuff on your computer over time, those images degrade. Even digital images are not forever, unfortunately. So.
I know a lot of these paints that we use will fade, because I can look at paintings that I did maybe 10 or 15, well, not that long, 10 years ago, and the colors have changed because they were, I guess, student grade paints, and they did not put adequate pigment in them or something. But so I do know that those things will fade over time or change. So yeah. I guess we should use old, ancient materials or top grade paints and things because of that. Because I was talking with a friend of mine last night, and she was saying that her paintings that she did years ago, the colors have faded now. They've darkened.
Yeah.
So we use student grade paints, and that's what we get, I guess.
Yeah. If you, yeah, like really cheap student grade paints, some of those are not, the quality of them is not really good. But then again, you can't really make a blanket statement like that, because there's some student grade paint out there that is actually as good, you know, as the artist quality paints, quote unquote, you know, from that very same company. So, and with acrylic, you know, some of the acrylics that I painted maybe, you know, 40 or 50 years ago, some of those are still around. You know, and in fact, every once in a while, you know, people will pop up and, you know, send me a photograph of the painting that, you know, maybe somebody bought, 40 or 50 years ago. And, and they seem to be holding up. And I was using acrylic paint, at that time. And so we know that, a lot of this stuff lasts at least 50 years. How much after that, I don't really know. Oil paint, has been tested and generally will last, at least a couple hundred years. But there are colors, in oil paint that aren't going to last, over a long period of time. In our lifetimes, it's not going to make a lot of difference. But, if it gets 200 or 300 years out, it'll probably change. And it doesn't really matter whether you're using, top grade, artist quality colors, or whether you're using, like cheap, student grade colors. The student grade colors will probably go away faster, but eventually, all that paint's going to be affected. But again, it may be much further down the line. So nothing is forever, unfortunately. So.
But I did change this picture, and you told me to blend the background a little more.
Yeah.
So I did that. I'll send that one in to you because I just did it yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah. Yeah, because I think, if this is a little bit softer in here, then your figures and things really kind of, will pop forward a little bit more. So, see, somebody sent a chat. Let's see. John's iPad, I just emailed you. Oh, your final painting. Okay. Thanks for reminding me, John. Okay. So, yeah, real quick, let's do that. All right. Let's stop sharing this. Let's go see if we can find John's painting, his final painting, so we can kind of talk about it. And then we'll kind of go from there. Let's see. Okay. File. Now that's Zoom. We want to go to Safari. Here we go. All right. And then what do we want? We want a new window. New window. And we want to go to email. We're working on it. We're getting there. Anybody else getting rained on?
Yeah, it's definitely just started. Yep.
It's starting to get dark over here, but no rain yet.
Yeah, it's getting dark.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's pouring over here. So
Yeah,
Yes,
here,
it is.
I've been saying this spring is the same thing. You got it.
all right. Supposedly, I saved it to the desktop. Let's see if we can go find it. We got several layers going on here. Yay, there we go. Got it. And it's got John's name on it and everything. All right, so good. I can close that. One less window.
I sent you one too, Charles. It's a landscape, trees.
Uh-huh.
Is it your birthday, Jackie?
Did you just send that to me, Jackie?
Is it her birthday? I see the happy birthday balloon in the background. Is it your birthday?
Yesterday, yeah. My granddaughter just sent
Yesterday, right?
yeah, but she just sent it to me a few minutes ago, the edibles. I haven't opened it yet.
Okay, well, happy belated birthday.
Yeah, we all celebrated yesterday, and she went and got a massage. We weren't there though.
No, she was all celebrating. Okay, so here's John's final painting. Yay! Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yep, that's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that worked out pretty well. I mean, you know, all of this stuff kind of sits in the background. You get some nice distance in there. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. I had left it pretty much in the original picture. It's all the trees with no leaves.
Right.
And I sort of left it blank, and you suggested just sort of doing a general blob.
Yeah, just kind of a simple shape. Yeah.
Yes, that's the word. That's the correct word.
Yeah. Okay. But you know, the thing that, you know, really helps that work out really nicely is the contrast. You know, the fact that these are so muted and soft, you know, against this background, they sit backward, and then this is just dark and intense enough to move. You know, like we got like 4 layers here.
Right.
You know, so it helps create that sense of space, you know, that we're kind of looking for. So that, you know, that was pretty nice. It worked out really
I like
good. Yeah. Okay.
Took a
So
little bit of work.
yeah. Yeah. Now, how big is this, John?
That's a 9 by 12.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because you're working on like a watercolor pad, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it turned out well.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So here we are. It's a little bit after 3 o'clock. We got everybody, you know, I think covered for the moment. Now, Jackie, you said that you sent me something. Did you send it to me during the class or what?
Yeah, I sent it to you today, so you'll see it. I hope it came through. I just wanted to see if it came through.
Oh, okay. But I mean, you sent it while we were in class, right?
No, before
No.
class.
Okay. And you
An
said
hour before.
Okay. Well,
It may not have come through. Sometimes mine don't come through, you know.
Most of your stuff. does.
I was inspired by Aaron Henson.
Okay.
The colors. I wanted to do something with a lot of colors. It's trees,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
landscape.
Well, here, let me go back and look. Yeah, inspired by Aaron Hansen. All right. But yeah, you sent that like 20 minutes before class.
Okay.
Is what it said. Yeah. Yeah, you sent it at 1:37.
I was trying to get it finished.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. Yep. Trying to sneak it in there. All right, well, it's downloading. So
I got all these pictures. I haven't finished them. I got to start finishing everything.
you and me too. Yeah. Yeah.
Me 3.
Yeah. I just.
Me too.
Yeah. I think we all.
5.
Yeah, we all kind of have a little of that going on. Yeah, I just cleaned up the upstairs studio. So I was really, really proud of myself that I went through a bunch of stuff. And what inspired that was that I went out and I found a little cabinet that was for sale. It's a little kind of arts and crafts style cabinet. And I went and I bought it, you know, spent like $30 on it. And was very, very happy to get it because it's a great place to store, you know, all this acrylic paint that I had in boxes sitting around the studio. So I got rid of, you know, quite a few of the boxes and got the paint in the cabinet and decided to start, you know, kind of going through all the stacks of canvases and stuff like that and begin to organize them. And I did. So now I've got a stack of canvases that don't have anything on it. And then I've got stacks of canvases that have paintings that need to be finished. And believe me, the need to be finished is a much bigger stack than the ones that, you know, need to be painted on. So anyhow, so I've got your image. So let's take a look at it here real quick. And it's really quite colorful. So I think everybody will like this quite a bit. And now this is acrylic, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had the yellow with fluorescent. What is it? Yeah, fluorescent yellow. I added a little bit of that in.
Okay.
I like that a lot.
That's really colorful.
That is.
That's one of my first landscape.
Okay.
I wanted to do something with color.
And you did.
You
I
did.
love color. That's beautiful. I love it.
Okay. So now, you know, the piece, you know, it's got a lot of color in it. It's really kind of fun. In a way, it's kind of very simplified and kind of abstract, which is nice. You didn't, you know, like work in like a lot of unnecessary detail in it. But I do have a suggestion to you. Okay. Now, if you look at some of the colors that you mixed, okay, like let's say these purples and things like that, where they mix with the green, you know, some of those got kind of gray, kind of soft, right? Which is not a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. But here's what I would say to you. You know, you could use more of those grayed down colors back over here where your blue mountaintop or your ridge is. If you had grayed that blue down, it would move back further, letting some of the blues in these areas up in here be brighter and come forward. But because this is as close in intensity as, you know, some of the blues that you have up in here, then it doesn't move back in the distance for us. And so it kind of wants to come forward. And so, like, you know, all, you know, like these green back here, the blue, maybe even this little touch of orange, you know, back in there. I would kind of gray the you know, the colors in this area down a little bit, you know, and let the colors right in here remain, you know, really bright, full strength. Same thing off in the trees here. You know, again, I would let those maybe get a little more muted. Again, you know, it gives us a focal point to go to, you know, by the use of the intensity of the color. Does that make sense?
Okay, you're saying that the mountain make it a little bigger and muted?
No, I didn't say make it bigger. I said take the blue color that you have here and just gray it down a little bit. Okay.
Gray it down. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to change, you know, don't make it lighter, don't make it darker, just make it less intense. So,
okay.
And the same thing with this kind of light green back here. Again, make it less, it's going to gray it down just a little bit. See, over in this area?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not talking about the green trees here or here or here. I'm just talking about what's back here in the background. See?
Background.
Yeah, if you gray that down, maybe even this purple here, if you just gray it down a little bit. So, again, that keeps the colors here sort of toward the middle, more intense, and it helps our eye know where to go, you know, where the focal point of the painting is. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you add gray to the paint when you gray it down?
You could. You could mix gray into it, or you could add what we call the direct complement. So in the case of blue, if you took this blue and you put just a little bit of this orange right here into it, and again, just a little, it begins to gray it down. If you put a lot, it may turn green, okay? But if you just put a little bit, it will gray it down. And it won't really change the value of it. The same thing with this green. If you take that green and you add red, and let's say you put this red into it, okay? Well, if you put any of that red into it, it's going to gray it down, but it's also going to make it darker, because this is a much darker value than that, right? So what you have to do when you're trying to do that, if you're trying to do that, if you're trying to keep the value the same, then you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to take the red, and you're going to have to and you're going to have to add a little bit of white to it to make it lighter. Okay, and you want to make it as light as this green. And then you're going to take that pink, which is basically the red with the white mixed together, and you're going to take that pink and you're going to add just a little bit of that pink to the green, and it will gray that green down, but it will keep it the same value. It won't change the value, it'll just change the intensity.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a color mixing exercise, you know. But I'm guessing, okay, and I could be wrong, all right, but I'm guessing your focal point in this painting is really kind of this area right here.
All right.
Okay. And see, you've got really nice kind of very vibrant, rich colors in there. But when you have vibrant, rich colors everywhere else, see, this doesn't really stand out. And so managing your color, you know, by the intensity and by the value contrast, you know, can help you, you know, construct a painting, you know, where the focal point really stands out. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a color mixing thing, but you know, again, you know, it's, well, yeah.
I'll try to finish it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. You know, the thing.
Charles, I did not hear
You didn't hear what?
any of your critique because my Zoom completely went out. It said
Yeah.
unstable, and it's been blank ever since till just now.
Okay. Well, yeah, you went missing in action, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
their
like-
fault.
Yeah. Well, you know, right after. Well, it could be the weather too. But yeah, it's like right after we finished talking about your painting. Yeah, you went away. So, you know, I thought it was something I said, but you know. Anyway, and it's now telling me that my internet connection is unstable. So, anyhow, so we're done on that painting. All right. So since the weather is so bad and our connection is, you know, going in and out on us, do you guys want to hang in here and look at a couple of artists, or do you want to call it a day?
I'll hang in.
You'll hang
I'll
in?
hang in for a little while, and if I go out, I'll just
I'll
go out.
watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll hang in. I'll just make sure everything is closed up.
I hear thundering here, though.
It's
Yeah.
thunder, yep, and heavy rain.
Yeah, it's pouring out here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so good. So we're going to look at two different artists, all right? I'm going to start off with, she's an Irish artist. Her name is Trudy Good. And she has some interesting work. Let's see, Trudy Good, there we go. And then we'll end up with another artist who's a guy, and he's
Are these less than 30 minutes?
do what now?
Are these less than 30 minutes?
Yeah, we'll be done, you know, before 4 o'clock. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go through them real quick because I want you to look at their work. So that, again, you know, this is Trudy Good, and basically she paints women. Okay, and she's known, you know, for the paintings of women. And she has a couple of different approaches. You know, some of these are, you know, rather representational and very kind of realistic. You'll notice that this woman, which is actually her, she uses herself as a model quite frequently. Okay. But, you know, she combines the figure with these sort of very kind of soft, almost abstract backgrounds, you know, which are really pretty nice. And then the other thing that, well, I'll kind of go through these first. So these are kind of samples, you know, of that approach. And again, you know, you'll see her over and over again.
Like yourself.
Well, you know,
It's less expensive, John.
yeah, she can afford to pay the model. So,
Yep.
you know, and some of these are really nice. You know, they're nicely done pieces.
What does she work in? Oil?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, in looking at these, you know, this could be an oil, and it, you know, she could be using it, you know, very wet, kind of like a watercolor, to kind of get these kind of stain effects and things like that. So that's kind of, you know, one approach that she takes. You know, they could also be acrylic. But they, to me, they either look like watercolor or oil. But again, you know, like this one looks a little more like watercolor, where the first one that we looked at, yeah, looked a little more like oil. Just the density of the paint and the surface. That doesn't really look like watercolor to me. You know, that kind of looks like either acrylic or oil, I would say. But now the thing that I wanted to show you guys were these. And this is something that she does quite a bit. So, you know, she works and she does these drawings, and, you know, definitely kind of a drawn image. And you can see, you know, how she built up the pencil. And again, I think these are colored pencils.
Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. But then she contrasts the drawing part of it with, I think, you know, she's probably using some watercolor as a background, as a base color, and then she's putting colored pencils over that, you know, to do the clothing and the fabric. And that's pretty common for her. You know, again, this is like one of her drawings. Now, she hasn't added any color to this.
Isn't that nice?
And now it looks more like a figure study. She's probably using charcoal and maybe a little bit of pastel there. But again, this is one of these, you know.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Look at that skin. Just
Fabric.
And look at the fabric. Yeah, the fabric. Ah.
Yeah, the transparency and stuff on it. And then again, you know, a drawing, and then she's adding color, you know, really just to the clothing. She does that quite often. You know, that's a pretty common style for her. But by using, you know, just kind of a limited or a spot color, you know, she, you know, really makes some, you know, really nice, effective statements. And again, you know, it's a drawing, and it looks like, and I would have to guess that this is probably watercolor as a base with colored pencil over it. So the point of this exercise is basically to say, you can kind of mix and match, you know, approaches in media. You know, you don't have to feel like you're limited or stuck in some way. Yeah. So you can pretty much tell this is white colored pencil right in here. Now, she may have started off by just, you know, laying a base of like white underneath this, and then feathered the edge with the white Prismacolor pencil or something. But all this work, the flowers and things, it's just about all colored pencil on top of So,
And her background is like, almost like the color of her skin
well,
in
it's
this
paper.
one also.
Yeah, it's the paper. Yeah, she's working on like a toned paper. So the paper
What kind
was,
of paper?
well, the paper wasn't white. You know, this was kind of a beige, or, you know, it had a color, the drawing paper. And then she used kind of a very neutral pencil. And I'm guessing that this is like a colored pencil rather than graphite, you know, to do the basic drawing. And then she used maybe watercolor to tint or color, you know, the clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she worked back into that with other colored pencil to add some of the details and accents to it.
Yeah, the legs look like they're actually glowing.
Yeah, that's the, you know, values
Mm-hmm.
that we keep talking about. Values. See, there's 5 steps on each one of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually 6 across there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. Moving around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Values, 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 and more values. They do make a difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, tuck that one away. You know, think about it. You know, maybe try doing a piece that's, you know, mostly monochromatic, and then add color, but just add color in a very limited area. So, and again, you know, it could be, you know, an approach of creating a drawing. Could also be an approach of, you know, creating a painting in just value scale. And then, like I said, in a limited area, you use color and let the rest of it remain, you know, monochromatic. Yeah, this is pretty nice. And you see, this is all pretty much so black and white, right? And then she added just this little tiny touch of color. So anyway, so that was pretty good.
That's so beautiful. What color? What did she use for that drawing? Did she draw it on color paper and then?
Right.
Is that acrylic? It looks like ink.
Well, I would say it's probably watercolor. It could be acrylic, you know, that's like an acrylic ink that's thinned down, that she's laying in a block of color, and then she's working back over that with more colored pencil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to create sort of the details.
Wow.
But yeah, really nice stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there's her. And then there's this young man, and his name is Michael Lukowicz. Anyway, he's Polish originally. Now, I'm guessing, all right, and again, I'm guessing, I don't know, all right, but I'm guessing that he's using maybe a combination of acrylic as a base and then oil on top of that.
And you went out on me again.
Okay, can you see?
I can see a picture now. And what does he work in?
Acrylic. I think primarily acrylic as a base, and then oil over that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now the thing I want to point out about his work in particular is, if you look at the surface of the canvas, you see how textural that is? See, he's built,
Yeah.
yeah, he's built that up with, adding layers of gesso, to the canvas, and just building it up and leaving, the brush marks. And then what he's doing next is, I think he's taking like some oil paint and he's staining the canvas. And then, how we saw this guy Noble yesterday, he took oil paint, he put it on, and then he took a paper towel and he rubbed a lot of it back out. But it just, how it settled, like in the uneven areas. Well, I think that's how he's getting a lot of this effect. He's bringing out that texture. And then he's working, and doing this figure over that in paint. Now he could be developing the figure in the acrylic and then doing that stain at the end of this as well. So I'm not exactly sure where he's doing it, in the process. But if you look at his work, it's all very much so the same approach. So he's built up that base with the brush marks and stuff in it, and then he's going back in and he's
And makes her skin look old on her hands and her arm there. The way it's the texture.
Yeah.
Instead of a young person.
Right. Well, when you're up close, yeah, I think it does. But yeah, when you're back away from it, not so much. It just adds, like another layer to it.
It's calling adding more interest.
Yeah. Yeah. It's creating an interesting paint surface. But look. You can see that, he basically developed that figure as a black and white, and then a lot of the stuff was added in over that. So again, it kind of becomes these layers of, and different surfaces. So, you get the image, but then, it's like the closer you get to it, you begin to see, You're breaking up, Gene. But, pretty nice stuff.
You draw the figure and then use the polished out and paint on top.
What, Gene?
Well, my thing went out again. I said what it is, it looks like a drawing, and then he used the polished style of throwing paint on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the figures, again, it's all based on value.
Yeah.
To get, the figure to turn and feel dimensional. And then, he starts adding in these little elements of color in a lot of his work. And it becomes, really, pretty interesting stuff, when you're looking at it. Now, in this particular case, I'd say that none of the color part of it was actually okay. It was all sort of translucent paint, because otherwise you would lose the image underneath, and he doesn't. He's able to maintain. The form, underneath the color. But it just kind of adds a whole nother sort of dimension to it. It's really nicely done, though. Let's get to this one. And again. you know, looking at the areas that have color, you know, the image, you know, stays consistent all the way through. And then, you know, this is slightly opaque, and you see where you're beginning to lose, you know, some of the drawing under, but the red, the orange were both very transparent and let the image come through. Any thoughts about any of these?
Just very creative. That's all I can say.
Well, it reminds me of statuary when it's outside in the open and it gets a film like over it before he puts the color on it.
Yeah. Yeah, the figures feel a little bit like statues because they're monochromatic, and they do. They feel kind of solid. You know, this seemed to be a study, and I've got the final painting. Let's see, this looks like kind of a sketch, an idea. And then let's see if we can find that painting here further. Yeah, I guess it was this. Yeah. Now this is the one that, you know, I saw first and got me to look him up. And but a really nice effect of light. But really, you know, beautiful images and just, you know, nice kind of very consistent, you know, technique and approach. And that gives you kind of the idea of the scale that he's working on. You know, so they're not huge pieces, but they're not small either. You know, they're pretty good size. See, again, you know, playing with that color, but also transparency. Interesting stuff. See, there's a lot of really, you know, wonderful stuff being made out there in the world these days. Okay.
I like stuff like that.
It almost looks like stone with paint on it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like stone. I guess because of the texture of the paper makes it look like it's stone. You know, even that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it plays with a lot of different, you know, your perception of what the surface is like. Because,
She
you know,
having a fur coat?
no, she doesn't have on a fur
You saw
coat.
somebody threw red paint on her. Did she have on a fur coat or something?
I gotta try some of those.
But yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful images, very soft in way.
Yeah, they look like that whatever he does to that paper, give him a stone look. Mm.
Yeah, nice to do a statue. A statue with that texture.
There you go. See now, there's a way of doing your statues you were talking
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said that he uses gesso and in layers.
Yeah. I think he's laying on, probably a good 8 or 10 layers of gesso, and he's letting the brush marks stay in there, and he's kind of working back over it, over and over again to build up that the depth and the texture of the surface of his canvas. And then he's probably going in and putting some kind of wash or stain on it, to bring that texture out. And whether he's doing that before he completes, the range of value on the images or not, I'm not sure. My guess is he's probably doing the images and letting those dry, and then he's coming back in with like a stain or a wash and putting color down, and then, taking a paper towel or a rag or a sponge, and then, pulling most of the color back out again, just leaving it, in these recesses to really bring out the texture and soften it. So that would be my guess. I'd have to experiment and play with it to see if we can get anything like that. But it's an interesting paint surface, interesting way of approaching doing a subject. So anyway, so how are we doing on time? We are at 3:47. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
And that's all I've got too. I'm tired.
You're tired, huh? Wore you out, huh? All right. So tomorrow we're going to be doing a little drawing, okay? And we'll probably end up doing some quicker drawings. We'll probably be doing some more figures, and trying to get movement, proportion, working with gesture, getting gesture drawings down. Okay, it's good to go back to that and practice it some more, see if we can get better. And that will start at 10 a.m. sharp. So hopefully we'll see you all there.
Yay, we'll be there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the stormy weather. Okay. Try to stay in, try to stay dry.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, if it's wet,
Bye. Bye.